Further discussion or debate on House Bill 589? Seeing none.
Mr. President.
Senator Nesbitt, what purpose do you rise?
I'm the one you've been waiting on.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate, we've had a good and thorough debate on this bill. Over 2 days, we've had a sense of history. I think we've reviewed the bill in great detail. I think everyone in the room knows what we're doing now. And I wanted to make 2 or 3 observations. We've heard about Georgia. I don't want to be like Georgia. We heard about South Carolina. I don't want to be like South Carolina. North Carolina is a better state than them, in my opinion. And this is the state I want to have, and this is the one that I want to be like. I heard a lot of correlations and statistics yesterday regarding early voting in Georgia. Well, then today, when Senator Goolsbee published his letter, I was able to finally understand the facts. The facts were, in 2006, they had no election to speak of. In 2010, Obama had probably registered half of Georgia in 2008, and they had a governor's election and a Senate election, and so the voter participation of the minority population went up. That's no surprise. And then in 2012, when the president was running for his second term, it went up again. Goodness gracious. Maybe that was all because they did voter ID in 2006. But I would propose to you that common sense doesn't say that that's what happened. It says what I just said is what happened. We sit in here and debate this bill almost as if you all have got one set of voters and we got another. Now, that's kind of how all the experts we hire tell us about the mail. Well, it's kind of interesting. When you do it by mail, you can mail to one group of voters and then mail to another group of voters. And you can get targeted information to a targeted group. I got some bad news for you all. You aren't just doing this to our folk, you're doing it to your folks. And they aren't going to like lines one bit longer, one bit better than we are. They aren't going to like having voted for 30 years and being turned away at the polls because they didn't bring their driver's license with them when they're elderly. They aren't going to like, your people aren't going to like not teaching children civics in schools and encouraging them to vote. And I'm telling you, when what I think's fixing to happen and you start having lines at these polls and you take responsibility for it, they aren't going to like you either. They aren't going to like anybody that did that to them. I was reading last night or the night before an article that pointed out, don't hold me to these numbers, these will be close, that seniors are having second thoughts about the Republican Party, that in the last election, I believe it was, you all had a 26% margin among seniors. The latest shows that it's now down to 6%. And after we finish telling them you tried to tax Social Security, we'll get that other 6%. And if they go stand in the lines I think they're going to stand in, by the time they get in there, we'll have 6%. Now, they're not going to put up with this. And if you doubt what I'm saying, you need to look around. Senator Blue mentioned what's going on in this world that we live in right now. it's frightening what people will do for freedom. And it's frightening what they will do when they feel like someone is trying to take that away from them. How would you like to be living in one of those countries that have mobs in the streets, and I don't know what they're shooting over there. I hope it's firecrackers. But there's guns going off, there's everything else going off, and they aren't going home until somebody's gone. Now, I'm telling you, and that's all, they aren't over there about food. They aren't over there about education. You can kind of do all those things to people. They aren't entitled to those. But you start treading on their freedom, and they don't think that they have any freedom and that their leaders don't care about them, and they'll take you down. And I know that there's been some people that have been dismissive of what's going on in this state. I got a pretty good memory. I cannot remember 800 people being arrested in this town and taken to jail, and thousands getting on buses and coming down here to protest what's being done. And you need to take note. People think that they're not being heard and they're not being listened to and their freedom's being trampled on. And now it's gone to the ballot box. I've said to you many times down here, I didn't know what the plan was, and I thought I had it. But then when I got to thinking about this bill, I don't know how to tell you all this, but this is not your answer. I thought it was. I thought this was the answer. And you could keep people from voting, they wouldn't be able to get recourse. The more I've thought about it, this isn't the answer. This is going to make them madder and more resolute to go to the polls. That's what happened in Florida. You put them in a line for 4 hours and see how many of them vote for you. Now, I'm telling you, because they'll be your lines. They won't be mine. And the best thing to do right now is to stop what we're doing to the people of this state and unleashing this bill on them and start over again and try to draw, if somebody has a legitimate problem with our process, we'll fix it. Now, in fairness to Senator Tillman, I'm really not going to go back to one-day voting. We're not going back 40 years. But you can fix a system. I started out yesterday in my debate by telling you this system isn't broken. And I've not heard anybody tell me it is. Now, if you declare everybody a crook, then you can begin to get paranoid. Maybe we need to strip search all the members out in the hall before they come in here, because one of you might have a gun. How about that? Or maybe we stop the cars out there in the driveway and search them all because somebody might be on drugs.
Senator Nesbitt, let's please stay on the bill.
Mr. President, I'm not going to argue with you. I am on the bill. That's what you're doing with this bill. You're declaring a bunch of crooks that aren't there. You're calling the people of this state crooks. I told you last night, nobody's trying to break into a polling place. It's never happened in the history of the state. That's not where the crooks are. And you don't need to do all these things to these people. My point is, you can stop anything. The question is, how much are you going to put everybody through to stop it? And this system isn't broken. You're fixing to break it.